Hey guys, it's Barlock here with my first Pokemon video. I'm hoping to bring more Pokemon content to this channel in the coming months, so what better place to start than with speculations for Pokemon Sword and Shield? With that in mind, here are 6 speculations for Pokemon Sword and Shield, all based on evidence that we see in the reveal trailer. Now, if you find any of these theories interesting, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like, comment, or share this video with your friends. Now, with that in mind, let's dive in. So let's start with the obvious. In the town with the grass-type gym, there are a number of rocks that you can see that have runes on them, and there's Stonehenge-like rock structures, and later in the trailer you can see a large mural carved into the countryside, which looks very similar to real-life hill figures that you can see in Britain, or Nazca lines that you can see in Peru. So what's important about this? Well, it seems very obvious to me that these are all pointing towards a legendary Pokemon which is going to factor into the story of these games. The hill figure that we can see in particular seems to depict a giant dragon-like creature breathing what looks like fire or lightning. It's hard to tell if the people that are around its feet in this picture are worshipping the creature or if they're being attacked by it. Personally, I think that considering that there's one person to the left of the hill figure who seems to be lying down underneath the lightning, it seems to me that this is an evil creature which has actually attacked and killed this person. So I feel like it seems very obvious to me that this is going to be an evil force within the story. And when you consider how old this hill figure is, it would seem that this creature has been locked away or defeated a long time ago. But is this one of the mascot legendaries for the game, or is it something else entirely? It's also worth taking into account that Stonehenge, Nazca lines, and hill figures are all very commonly associated with ancient aliens. There have been several alien Pokemon, such as Deoxys and Clefable, so it's not unprecedented to believe that the Pokemon we see here could be some sort of alien. If history is anything to go by, then the titles of Pokemon Sword and Shield are going to be a hint about the design and themes of the mascot legendaries in these games. If you think back, in Gen 5, Black and White referred to the dragons Zekrom and Reshiram and their opposed ideals, in addition to the coloring of these two Pokemon. In X and Y, those two letters were reflected in the names and designs of Xerneas and Yveltal. And in Sun and Moon, the titles reflected the designs and aesthetic for Solgaleo and Lunala. Therefore, it stands to reason that Sword and Shield is going to describe something about the design and possibly the themes of the mascot legendaries for this game. Most obviously, this suggests that the Sword Pokemon will be very offensive, whereas the Shield Pokemon will be super bulky. I also think it's likely that these two Pokemon will reflect some aspect of knighthood in their design. The fact that the titles also have a shared wolf's head in their design makes me think that it's likely that the mascot legendaries could be a branching evolutionary line, similar to how Lunala and Solgaleo evolved from Cosmog in Pokemon Sun and Moon. However, this wolf's head, if it does factor into the design of these Pokemon, it would be inconsistent with the dragon-like creature that we see in the hill figures. So perhaps these night Pokemon fought and sealed away the dragon long ago. That would certainly be consistent with the idea of knighthood, and it could make for a really cool storyline if that's what Game Freak has in mind. So this might be my favorite theory on this list, even if it is probably the most crackpot of the whole bunch. Basically, there's a very conspicuous poster on the wall that you can see in that London-esque city. Now, it's very possible that this is just background dressing, and I'm looking way too deeply into this, but I do wonder if this was put into the trailer by Game Freak as a subtle hint for us. So in this poster, you can see a bunch of berries. Specifically, you can see a cherry berry, a pecha, weepear, lum, aspir, and choppleberries for sure. But there are also a couple of curious details I noticed. For one thing, there's this pointy red berry, which looks like a normal berry in its design, but those are usually colored yellow, not red. So perhaps this is a new berry which is going to be added into the game? There's also a yellow leafy berry, which appears to be a pineapple berry, which is also interesting because lately this berry has been used in the Let's Go games and in Pokemon Go as a method to get more candies for your Pokemon. However, it's also worth taking into account that pineapple berries were originally introduced in the series to be used in the creation of Pokeblocks and Poffins, which were essential for the Pokemon Contests minigame in Gen 3 and 4, as these items would increase your beauty stats. Weepear and Normal berries were also used to create Pokeblocks, and the product being advertised in this poster almost looks like it's a Pokeblock treat. So when you add all this up, it makes me wonder if this is Game Freak hinting at the return of Pokemon contests in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Again, this could easily be me looking way too deeply at the background details in this trailer, but it's so conspicuous in this trailer that I have to wonder why Game Freak would include it, if not to hint at something. So from what we've been shown, the Galar region definitely seems to be based on the United Kingdom. This can be evidenced by the geography of the map that we've been shown, the Scottish-looking clothing of the female character, and the architecture, particularly in the London-esque city. There's a Big Ben-like clock tower, and we can see the Stonehenge-like objects in the town with the grass-taped gym. In contrast, Gen 6's region was the Kalos region, which was very clearly based off of France. And so it stands to reason that these two regions would follow their real-life counterparts and should be very close to one another, more so than any other region in the Pokemon world, in fact. This is suggested by the fact that the weather vane that we see at the start of the trailer is very clearly topped with a Fletchling, which is Kalos' signature bird Pokemon. Kalos also had a royal aesthetic to it, all of its traditions, and this meshes very well with Sword and Shield's knightly imagery and themes. And it possibly even suggests that there's been some cultural exchange between Galar and Kalos. Now, whether this is just a lore detail, or if it means that maybe we will get to travel to Kalos, is anyone's guess. But just imagine how many people would freak out if you could travel to Kalos in the post-game. We haven't been able to do this since Gen 2 with Johto and Kanto. So if that was something that they could work into Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think fans would be losing their minds, to put it simply. When it comes to which of the new starters is my favorite, I am definitely on Team Grookey. But of all the starters, Sobble is the most intriguing to me. From its chameleon-based design, timid nature, and strong sense of self-preservation, it appears to be a very unique and characterful starter, unlike any we've seen before. However, it makes me wonder how this is going to be translated in-game. Traditionally, all starter Pokemon have the Torrent, Overgrow, or Blaze abilities by default, depending on their type. These abilities power up their water, grass, or fire moves respectively when their health is low. However, Torrent doesn't really seem like the sort of ability which makes sense for a cowardly Pokemon like Sobble. So this makes me wonder if Gen 8 might break from convention and give its starter Pokemon unique abilities. Personally, this would be a very welcome change if it is true. Sobble may also get some sort of unique defensive move, I think, kind of like King's Shield. In the trailer, we see it go completely invisible and then run away in order to hide. There's also a weird detail in the trailer. When Grookey is hitting the rock with a stick, we can see Sobble's footprints stay for a second before they splash away. Now, this might be another crackpot theory, but when we see Sobble running away, could that have been a decoy while the real Sobble was actually hiding invisible right beside Grookey until the coast was clear? I mean, if I'm right, how would that even translate in-game? Would you use a defensive move and that would put up a substitute, or give you a 50-50 chance of hitting the Pokemon? I don't know, but in any case, I really hope Game Freak does something very unique and unconventional with Sobble and its playstyle, because there's a lot of potential to be an unforgettable starter and a very unique choice to play through the game with. Of the 16 Pokemon that we see in this trailer, it's notable to me that only one of these Pokemon is actually from the first generation, and that's Pikachu, because of course you have to put Pikachu in there because he's the series mascot. However, the other 15 Pokemon on display all come from other generations. From Gen 2 we have Hoothoot and Tyranitar, Gen 3 we have Flygon and Wailmer, Gen 4 we have Munchlax and Lucario, who's using a Z-move, which is really cool. Gen 5 we have Minccino, Zweilous, and Braviary. In Gen 6 we have Meowstic. Gen 7 we have Wishiwashi and Grubbin. And for Gen 8 we have Scorbunny, Sobble, and Grookey, of course. So considering that Gen 1 tends to have the most well-known and iconic Pokemon, it seems to me that this was a very deliberate choice by Game Freak to only have one of them actually show up in this trailer. Pokemon games have been pouring on fan service for Gen 1 Pokemon for years, especially since Gen 6 and 7, because those generations had a high number of Mega Evolutions and Alola variants for Gen 1 Pokemon. So when you consider that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee just came out as well, it makes sense that Game Freak would not only dial back on the Gen 1 oversaturation, but would also try to draw in fans of Let's Go and Pokemon Go into discovering other Pokemon that they may not actually be aware of. So what do you guys think? Did you find any of these theories compelling? So be sure to let me know in the comments below, or follow me on Barlock1 on Twitter for more Pokemon theories coming soon. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed yourself. This is Barlock, signing off.